Roll call 219 here. It's early. Sun's coming up. I haven't seen anything yet. This is my last day. It's not the last day of the season, but it's my last day I can hunt. I gotta work the rest of the weekend, and then the season ends over the weekend. So this is it. I've only had really 4 full days of hunting, and then a couple in between there of just a couple of hours. I'd like to have a whole season off. I bet you I'd be a little bit more successful, especially with what I've seen this year. So I'm gonna get set up. It is windy here, so hopefully it won't be too cold. It's typical Indiana days. 60 degrees one day and it's about 42. With the wind blowing, it feels like it's about 30. So it's cold. But we'll have to see what happens. So I'm going to shut this camera off, and if it happens, then I'll film it. I won't film me shooting the bird because it's just me here. So I got to do the calling. I got to keep the shotgun in an upright position. So it's a little difficult for me to film and shoot a turkey. And I don't want to put a camera in back of me or anything, because then I can't go to shut it off and then edit the video. So this is going to be the first half of it. So hold on. So there's a turkey. It's a little hen. She's coming up off the road. We'll see what's behind her. She's looking around. She's way. This is on like the farthest my zoom can go. That's how far away that turkey is on my phone. Back in that brush. I'll have to wait and see what she does. There she is, getting some supper. Or getting some breakfast. A bearded female. You'll see them a whole lot. Roll call 219. So if you've finished watching the first part of the video, well, let's get into it. So over the course of the last 2 weeks, hunting turkeys, the things that I learned is position yourself to give yourself a clear shooting lane. Make sure you put yourself in position so you can see the birds when they come out. These are some of the things that I've learned over the past 2 weeks. Again, I can reiterate that my friends don't hunt. They're more into sporting events and things of that nature. And even some of them can't own a firearm, which is sad. But doing everything yourself is tough. Whether it's setting up all your decoys and your blind, and getting ready to get into that hunting phase mode, from doing the calling and keeping the shotgun. I try to keep it up at least in I would say almost the upright position. So putting myself against a tree was the best way I figured this out. And I'll talk about a guy that's all over the interwebs, and it's Steve Rhinella. Been reading one of his books up there, up underneath there, and he goes into a lot of detail about how to hunt by yourself, because he does it on his shows of Netflix, and he talks about it on their podcast on YouTube. That would be the Meat Eater podcast. So taking that kind of advice from a guy that's been hunting pretty much all his life. At one point he stopped. There's a lot in the books that he writes. So taking that and positioning the firearm on my knee, so when the birds do come up, you could get the shotgun up, in a shooting position quickly. This is something that I learned very, very, very quickly in the next video that I'm going to make to wrap this whole turkey season up in a nutshell. So those kind of tips for hunting alone, I think, are really good critical tips to learn. Calling is something I look at it as sort of an art form. Learning how to do the clucks, the purrs, and the yelps. I drove everybody in the house crazy, including one of the dogs that now looks for turkeys when the dog hears it. Learning these techniques and these skills, I think, are vital, especially now what we see with the Coco Ono, with all that stuff going on with the shortages of meat. I talked to Cindy when I got home. Pretty much nothing left on the shelves for meat products. So I look at hunting, and a lot of people look at it as, putting that good mount on your wall, or collecting that beard, or, taxiderming that duck. At this point in stage, I look at it as a source of food, a resource, something that nature can provide, that I can harvest and I can put in my freezer. Collecting antlers and beards and trophies like that, they're cool. Don't get me wrong. I have a set of antlers myself, but I'm looking at it in the long term, especially with all this stuff going on about the Covey Coco. A lot of this stuff has to do with it, and I think I'm learning critical things about hunting by myself. Another aspect I can tell you is bring a cell phone, because you never know if you hurt yourself or something, God forbid, goes wrong. Always have some kind of communication device. That's why, I've talked to a guy yesterday that came over and picked up some eggs from the chickens, and I talked to him a little about if he wanted to come hunt. If he wanted to come hunt and wanted to be a hunting buddy. That's another thing. Try and hunt with another person. That will benefit you in so many other different ways. Hauling gear, and then if you do harvest something, you got somebody else to help you pack it out and take it for the long haul. So there's a lot of things I learned this year. I think I've watched over 120 videos of turkey hunting from years ago all the way up to watching everybody's this year's opening season. And a lot of my guys that I know have gotten a turkey, like Budget and some of my other people that I associate around the area. They all harvest a bird, and that's fantastic. Not only that, that's a huge resource that you can help your family with and fill your freezer. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for me this year. I only basically had 4 full days of hunting. And, I would say maybe 6. But the weather is so ever-changing in my area that weather has a lot to do with it. The very last day of hunting was brutal. The day before, it was about 70 degrees. 68, 70 degrees. Had to work nights. Doesn't work out that well hunting turkey, especially in the morning. By the time you get home, you've lost that at least a little bit of portion of gap to hunt. So the last day, it felt like it was 35 degrees, and the wind was blowing so hard, and it was just so cold. I was almost physically shaking, and I had to give up and go back out. in the end, you're going to have to learn this stuff and learn the cycles. I've looked at a lot of apps for phones that will help you determine patterns on these birds. Another thing that I want to mention is trail cameras. Trail cameras are a lifeline. Not only that, you can really document the birds or whatever animal that you may be hunting. And you can find those peak times where those birds are going to be there. I learned that through this year of watching the birds when they come down off the roost. A lot of people I was in the woods at one point about 5:30, 6 o'clock, 6:30-ish, and didn't see a bird until 9:30, 10 o'clock. So you can really start scheduling those hunts. And as I went back out there, I didn't get up at those early morning hours because those birds weren't moving through that area at that time. It must not have been their roosting spot. Finding their roosting spot is another critical thing. Where I was hunting, that wasn't their roosting spot. That was the place where they came and they congregated. Or, they took a bath, a dust bath, or they just sat there and fed. So learning the area that you hunt is another crucial aspect of this. I enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed some of the videos. Unfortunately, I didn't have anything to show for it, but just some pictures on Instagram and the video that you just watched. I'm going to give it a shot this fall. It's not cheap. The tags are, I'd say I paid $32, something around that realm. I don't know if it's up there, but it wasn't cheap. A lot of people say $30 is cheap. A lot of people say $100 is cheap. But when you're trying to do this to put food on the table and to stock your freezer or your fridge, and you don't get that opportunity to harvest an animal, that hurts. That's $30 of a learning experience, and that yielded knowledge but didn't yield the end result. A lot of people are lucky. People like me are unlucky, I would say. But if I didn't have any luck at all, then what would it be? So I hope you enjoyed this little portion. I will make one final video of the last hunting story, and it's a pretty good one, just like the other ones that I had over the past couple of weeks for turkey season. And to cap it all off, when I pulled in the driveway, because I work nights again tonight, guess what, man? A tom and 2 hens doing their thing right across the street, right where I hunt. So I mean, you got you got to look at it and say, we'll get you in the fall. We'll get you in the fall. So with that all being said, this is a long video. I understand that. I want to thank you guys for watching the videos. I want to thank you for commenting, and subscribing to the channel. It's an array of stuff. So I hope you guys are enjoying the content. I do want to throw this in here. We are creeping up on 600 subscribers pretty quick. I'm going to be putting some stuff together. I'm going to be posting some stuff on Instagram. You can follow me at RollCall219. I'll even throw it out on Twitter and make a video here on YouTube. You can find me at RollCall2010, but it's RollCall219 because that's when I started Twitter. So all that stuff is going to be coming into play. And you guys on Patreon, thank you guys for using your hard-earned money. And right now money's a little tight with people being out of work, and I've always said this from the beginning of the bug flu until now. If you can't do Patreon, don't do Patreon. Save that money for you and your family. Hopefully this will all pass, and then you can come back and do Patreon. But like, commenting, subscribing to the channel, interaction in the live chats, that's worth its weight. That's worth its weight. So just remember to do all that stuff. And like always, guys, we'll catch you on the next one.